we'll be talking about Donald Douglas. Some background: he was one of the major aviation industrialists and pioneers of the 20th century, and he made significant improvements to military transport aircraft, as well as fighter jets and commercial airliners. Notable for his rivalry with William Boeing in developing the best aircraft of the time. In his early years, he was an aviation enthusiast, and he often kept up with the advancements of the Wright brothers and other figures, and from a kid, he was always interested in aviation. He later attended the U.S. Naval Academy, and he stood out among his peers for his intellect and interest in aviation. He would often build model airplanes out of wood and rubber bands. He was constantly making models to see what would work. After graduating from the Naval Academy, he studied aeronautical engineering at MIT. And upon earning his bachelor's degree, he became a professor at the institution. As a professor, he advised the Connecticut Aircraft Company and was involved in the development of the first American dirigible for the Navy in 1915. After his tenure as professor, he became chief engineer at Glenn Martin, and he developed the Martin bomber for World War I. Used during World War I. He later resigned from his position at Glenn Martin and moved to California broke. In spite of his financial situation, he founded his own company, and it grew from a team of around 70 people to become one of the largest in the U.S. in just a few years. He focused on developing aircraft to meet the military's needs, and in 1921, he completed his first contract with the Navy to create a torpedo bomber named the DT-1. He later paired with sportsman David R. Davis to build a new plane. This plane, called the Cloudster, was designed to to be able to nonstop fly transcontinentally from the west to the east coast. It was unsuccessful in that goal, but it was the first aircraft to successfully lift a load greater than its own weight. An updated version was used, however, to carry passengers for one of the first airline flights from Los Angeles to San Diego. He later began developing the World Cruiser in the 1920s, and the World Cruiser became the first plane to circumnavigate the globe, garnering his company worldwide fame. And by the end of the 1920s, his company had grown to be over worth $25 million. In the 1930s, he made significant improvements to aircraft technology. He developed the DC-2, a twin-engine cargo plane for long-distance airlifts and transport. DC-3 was an improvement upon the DC-2 and became one of the most famous and commercially successful aircraft of the company in its time. DC-3 was later adapted into the 747 Skytrain by the British, and they used it for transport missions in the British military. Later, Douglas and his company developed the C-132, used for transport by the U.S. Air Force, and at the time was one of the largest aircraft in the world. In the 1950s, he moved on to create commercial airliners, including the DC-8. Following World War II, sales of Douglas aircraft declined, but his planes remained popular and in use. He retired from the company in 1957, which was then taken over by his son. Douglas aircraft became instrumental during the war effort of both world wars. He made significant advancements in the capabilities of long-distance passenger and cargo transport. Douglas's company eventually merged with McDonnell Aircraft Company in 1967, creating the famous company McDonnell Douglas. And McDonnell Douglas went on to produce more commercially successful aircraft, such as the MD-11, which is used by cargo lines even in the modern day, until it merged with Boeing in 1997.